Welcome to the Book Party Podcast. Join us as we journey into the world of books with Michael T. Prepare to be captivated by engaging interviews, insightful discussions, and fascinating stories. You'll discover new adventures and gain insight into the creative process of the authors themselves as they share their struggles and accomplishments. Now let's hear from Michael T.
This is Michael T. Welcome, dear listeners, to another enlightening episode of the Book Party Podcast, where we explore the profound insights of thought leaders and authors who transform our lives today. We have the privilege of delving into transformative communication and relationships with exceptional author, Dr. Julie Pham. Dr. Julie Pham, a remarkable scholar and the founder and CEO of Curiosity-Based, an organization development firm, has captivated readers with her Amazon best-selling 7 Forms of Respect, a guide to transforming your communication and relationships at work. But her achievements don't stop there. Dr. Pham is an award-winning community leader, a Gates Cambridge scholar, and a Haas Scholarship scholar, and a true trailblazer in her field. Today, we embark on a journey into the heart of Dr. Pham's groundbreaking book, In 7 Forms of Respect. She offers a practical guide to navigating the intricate web of respect in the American workplace. This isn't just a book, it's a transformative experience that will forever change how you communicate and connect with your colleagues. 7 Forms of Respect empowers you with tools to decipher the unspoken code of workplace respect. Dr. Pham challenges you to define what respect means to you personally, helping you to uncover why you behave the way you do in various situations and with different individuals. It's about learning a new vocabulary to communicate the essence of respect. But what truly sets this book apart is the thought-provoking questions and exercises that Dr. Julie Pham provides. They are the keys to unlocking lasting and surprising transformations in your communication and relationships at work. Don't just take our word for it. Listen to what others have to say. Dim Lai, Director of Community Impact at Comcast NBC Universal, says, 7 Forms of Respect lowers walls and finds what we have in common and what we all ultimately seek in others and ourselves. A desire to matter. Lizzie Mentis, CEO of Here's Waldo Recruiting, adds that there is no one-size-fits-all way to show respect. This book teaches you how to understand people's underlying values and build a team dynamic where they feel valued and respected. And from Brian Surratt, President of CEO of Greater Seattle Partners, we hear Dr. Pham gives us a compelling blueprint to fully honor and recognize each other through an unwavering commitment to clarity, connection, and humility. In this captivating journey, 7 Forms of Respect takes you through 4 transformative parts: contextualize, assess, learn, and practice, each designed to help you apply these principles in your life and workplace. So, dear listeners, get ready to explore the 7 dynamic forms of respect: procedure, punctuality, information, candor, consideration, and acknowledgement, and attention. Dr. Pham reveals that respect is relative, contradictory, and subjective through engaging scenarios and thought-provoking questions. So, are you ready to transform your communication and relationships at work? Well, let's dive into the wisdom of Dr. Julie Pham, discover how 7 Forms of Respect can empower you. So let's go ahead. Welcome Dr. Julie Pham to the Book Party Podcast without further ado. So Dr. Pham, why don't you take it from here, fill in any blanks a bit, and tell our listeners about yourself.
Thank you so much, Michael, for inviting me onto this podcast. I founded Curiosity-Based 2.5 years ago in the middle of the pandemic, leaving the best job I ever had because I wanted to own my work and I wanted to be able to write under my name. So that's why I started my company, and my first book was 7 Forms of Respect.
Okay, well, on your publishing journey, Did you go through the self-publishing path or the route of finding an agent and agency path or something in between, such as a hybrid publisher? I mean, how did you do your publishing route?
I think of it as self-publishing, yet I did hire some people to help me with that process. And I know that they would say, we published for you, we will be your publisher. And I said, no, I just need someone who's going to help me with the cover and with editing. And this is actually, Michael, this is actually the second book that I self-published. So with this book, Seven Forms of Respect, I wanted to have some additional help. And yet I actually had published a book in 2019. So I would say that first one, 2019, was definitely self-published, and Seven Forms of Respect was probably a bit more of a hybrid. And I'd actually like to share the story of how I decided to go self-published with the second book.
Sure, go ahead.
So my background is as a historian. And when I was an undergrad, I wrote my undergraduate thesis on the South Vietnamese military perspective of the Vietnam War. And I interviewed 40 veterans. And I graduated in 2001. And in 2019, my father, who was sick at the time, said, I really would like you to publish your thesis. I think this book matters to people. And he had a lot of friends who used Amazon to self-publish. And so I was like, okay, Dad, I'll do whatever you'd like. And so I quickly did the book on Amazon, and it was really easy. I hadn't changed it from 2001, and this is 2018. And then my father said, now we have to have a party. We have to have a reception for your book. And I was like, I don't want to do that. He's like, no, it's really important. I will organize everything. I'll do everything. And so he did. And Michael, 300 people showed up.
I'm sorry?
300 people showed up at this reception, and it was in a former synagogue. So you can imagine this really beautiful hall. And as I was looking at the audience, I realized most of them were Vietnamese.
Right.
And so at that moment, I was actually confronted with my internalized elitism. And I realized the reason why I didn't want to have this reception was because I thought, well, this book isn't a real book because I self-published this book. So this book isn't a real book. And a real book is published by a traditional publisher. And yet, as I was looking at this audience, I realized that this book matters to all these people. And if I hadn't self-published, it wouldn't have been accepted by a commercial publisher because it wasn't commercially viable. And so that's when I was just, I saw the value of self-publishing. And so fast forward 2021, I started my company and I knew I was going to write this book. And all of my friends and colleagues were saying, my peers were saying, you need to get an agent, you need to do this and this and this. And I said, no, I am going to self-publish this book. I'm going to self-publish this because I have a message that has to get out in the world, and I'm not going to wait to go through the traditional publishing route because I knew how long it would take. And also I talked to friends who had been rejected by so many agents and then by so many publishers. And I was thinking, I know my work is good. And I mean, I have written peer-reviewed articles. I have a PhD. I was like, I know how to do research, and I don't need to prove myself. So that's why I was I'm definitely self-publishing. And this time I did hire some help to make it a bit more professional looking. And yet I remember when that company said, and then we'll say we published it. I'm like, no, I'm proud of the fact that I did this.
Right.
I kind of compare self-publishing to what online dating used to be. Because remember when people were there was a lot of stigma around meeting people online. And people were like, oh yeah, we met through friends. We met here or there, but they didn't want to say they met online. And I think that there are a lot of people who don't want to admit that they self-published. And for me, I'm really proud of it.
Well, more and more, you'd be surprised at how much self-publishing there is. And for a number of reasons. One is because you try to go through agents and you try to get a traditional publisher, and if you do, it can take 2 or 3 years to get your book out. Number two, they lose control of their book.
Mm-hmm.
They want to change your words to what they want it to say, and all of a sudden it's not what you wrote. So they don't like that either. They want to get their book out and, a lot more quickly. And, the editor they want their editor to edit it their way
Mm-hmm.
instead of what you want it to be. So you're better to collaborate with your own editor to edit it, to make it professional, but it's still your words, So that's what I did when I wrote my books is I built a team and I got my own editor because you have to have another set of eyes look at it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You just have to do that. And from that perspective, so I got a professional editor. Then I got a book cover artist to do the book covers because I tried to make a book cover myself on the first book. What a disaster that was. I'm no artist whatsoever. So I found one that did it and does a fantastic job. Then the formatting, I don't know how to format. So I got somebody to do the formatting. So I built a team. So when book 2 was there, it was a lot faster. Book 3 was a lot faster. I'm almost done with book 4 now. And they're actually a series. And they're nonfiction, and they're a series. And the book 4 is the end of that particular series. But the other thing about self-publishing, it's not what it used to be. It's not looked at anymore as a taboo no-no.
Mm-hmm.
Self-publishing has come a long ways, a long, long ways. And there's a couple different ways to do it. One is the KDP way, just straight up into Amazon. The others, there's Google Play. There's, some different ways to do it. And then there's hybrid publishing, where you can maintain a lot of the control, but they'll help you with the book cover. They'll help you with editing. They'll help you with these things, but they don't take control of your words. So there's different things like that. So you have, in my mind, you have to collaborate a little bit somewhere, to get some of these things done. So when you wrote this book, maybe you can take us to a point what you would consider your worst author moment and tell us a story behind that.
I actually think my worst author moment came after the book came out. And that was in publicizing the book.
Okay.
And trying to go on, air quotes, or tour, right? Trying to promote the book and going to book signings and stuff. That was such a humiliating experience
Why would
for
that
anyone
be?
who thinks, oh, it's so glamorous. Because my friends were like, oh, it's so glamorous. You're going to go and talk about your book. No, I'm going to sit at a table and look really pathetic and desperate as people walk by and pretend that they didn't see me. And as I have a stack of books, hoping someone will come and stop by and ask me about it. And yet I know so many of them are petrified because they don't want to get pressured into buying the book.
Right.
And
right.
I remember, the first time was at the edge of a farmer's market. Michael, it was I just kept looking out like, please, anyone look at me.
Yeah.
And I sat there for a couple of hours. It was super hard. And then I did one at Barnes and Noble's, and someone was like, oh, have a bowl of candy. Michael, the only reason why people would come and talk to me is so that they could get candy, and then they would grab it and leave. And they were actually hoping I'd talk to someone else and then swing by and get the candy.
Right.
And so, yeah, I just, promoting the book was actually the hardest part. And so, yeah.
Well, there's other ways to do the promotions other than book signings.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of other ways to do it. But book signings is one of them.
Mm-hmm.
And it can be quite the task, especially if you have to travel to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But book signings are a little easier if you have a number of books instead of just one.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Having just one book is a little bit more difficult than having 3 or 4 books, that are, it makes it a little bit easier because then people want to see, oh, what's the different books rather than just one. That's just my own personal opinion.
Yes. And my 2 books are so different from each other, right? One is a history of the South Vietnamese military, and this one's about communication and relationship building in the workplace. So I don't know if I'd be able to do that. I do think that a lesson learned was just setting my expectations, and just setting my expectations in terms of this is not going to be this glamorous big thing. It's just, this is a way to have some people who didn't know about my work to learn about it. And I did meet some people through just the process of the book signing who I still keep in touch with. With self-publishing, you have to often sell the books on consignment, which means that they will, they'll take your books, but they'll only sell it. They'll sell what they have on hand, and then they take their share, but they're not actually, they're not, you're taking the risk. The author is taking the risk, not the bookseller.
Of
And
course. Have you thought about Audible?
I have thought about Audible, and I just haven't done it yet.
Because there's a number of ways to do the Audible. As a matter of fact, I'm getting ready to do mine. But the way that I'm set up, I'm going to do my own narration of my books. So since they're nonfiction and they don't have a bunch of characters, it's easier for me to do that, because I wouldn't know how to do mommy, daddy, and child as one voice, and how to alter that. I don't know how to do that. But to just read my book, because Audible's the way it's up and coming. I did some research on it, and Audible's growing by 25% per year. Print is growing by 2% per year. And Audible's going to overtake print in the next probably 2 years. And they say by the year 2050, print will be no more.
Well, Michael, you have a great voice for narrating your own books. I think what holds me back is because my book is designed as a guidebook. And so I'd have to actually change it quite a bit to read it, because it's not a narrative. I actually do have on my YouTube channel, there are a lot of scenarios in the book where I just pose it to the reader. Hey, think about this, think about this. And so I actually decided to do a bunch of short videos that are accessible for free on my YouTube channel.
Right. Okay. So my next one is what I call an epiphany moment. And it happens, what I'm talking about is any time when you're not actually writing. You can be driving, you can be working, you can be grocery shopping or cooking or even taking a shower. And all of a sudden, this bright light bulb bursts in your head. You've got this thing that I have got to write this down right now. This needs to go in my book. Because, if you don't write it down, when that thought hits, it's going to fade and be different 30 minutes or an hour from now. It's not going to be the same. So you got to write it down or talk into your phone or something right now. Do you have a moment like that?
I will again talk. There was a huge epiphany moment I had that was more about when the book was done and I was thinking about promoting the book. And that was, I realized that my book is like a child. It's like this unborn baby. Right.
Okay.
And I actually did a Kickstarter to raise money for this book, because I did hire contractors and book designers and things like that. And so when I did that Indiegogo campaign, I was actually able to meet my goal in the first 18 hours. And I had over 300 people who pledged to it. And so I felt, wow, over 300 people donated to this, to make this book possible. And so my epiphany moment was, as I was getting really nervous about the book being released to the world, was it felt like a baby going out and like having this baby, and you don't know what people are going to think. And once the baby is out, the world is going to have opinions of this, and that are beyond my control. And yet I had so many hopes and dreams for this baby.
But it's yours.
But it's mine. And so my epiphany was, I actually ended up writing a letter to my book, and I called it Dear Book.
Okay.
And I wrote it as if I was writing to a child who's about to be born. And I ended up putting it, writing an essay and putting it and recording it. And I even have a little YouTube video that has me reading it. And then I shared it also with people who are also just, because I think it's the experience that all creators go through of this fear and all the expectations we have. And then just before release.
Right.
So that was and it was also, I looked at him like, oh, about the timing of when I finished my Indiegogo campaign and wrote the book and to when it was going to be released, it was actually about 9 months.
Right, about 9 months, huh?
Yeah. So,
so there you go.
My big epiphany moment had to do with again, promoting the book.
Right. Okay. So let's go to today.
Mhm.
What is the one thing that you're most fired up about or excited about right now today?
Mm-hmm. I am taking this book out and doing workshops on the book, and it continues to change. Oh my gosh. And the people's reactions to the content of the book has got me really, I'm like, wow, I've got to write a second edition about 7 forms of respect in our personal life, because it keeps coming up. People are like, this isn't just relevant to the workplace. This is about this respect is also in my home life, in my community service life.
Right. This is Michael T. I invite you to go to bookpartypodcast.com, hit that subscribe tab on top, then scroll down to the icon of your choice, such as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, or Odyssey, where you can download and follow us there, and please leave a review. Please don't forget to sign up for our weekly video newsletter to get the latest information on our upcoming shows. Dr. Pham, we're going to enter the lightning round, and the lightning round is 4 pointed questions for 4 pointed answers. So before you started writing even your first book, before you became an author, what kept you from becoming an author in the first place?
Worrying that I would be good enough to get a commercial publisher behind me.
A commercial publisher. Ah, okay. Most answers I get on that is people worrying about there's so many great authors out there with so many great books. How can I compete with that? And you're not competing with that. You're not them writing for them to their avatar. You're you writing to your avatar. So your only competition is actually you.
Mm-hmm.
And once you get over that, then you can write your book. And of course, you went the self-publishing route, so you don't have to worry about thinking you're good enough for some publisher out there. So anyway, once you started writing, what was the best advice that you had ever received?
So this is when the best dissertation is a done dissertation. That was my first really big book. And so I kept thinking that I just have to get done. I just have to get done.
Okay. I have 2, and this doesn't come from me. I interview a lot of authors, hundreds of them. And these are the 2 that have stuck with me, answers that I've got. I don't remember who they're from. You can't edit an empty page.
Mm-hmm.
So you just need to write.
Mm-hmm.
The other one is write drunk, edit sober. Just get it out there. Don't worry about sentence structure, punctuation. Don't worry about any of that. Just get it out there. Get it, typed in or written down, whatever you're going to do. Then worry about coming back and worrying about sentence structure and punctuation and stuff like that. And those are the 2 that have stuck with me the most, because then you don't have to worry about, if you started to type and you had Grammarly Premium stuck on there with you and you're trying to do every sentence perfect, you'd never get it done. So that's what I mean by write drunk, edit sober. So, okay, share one of your personal habits that contributes to your success as an author.
I am relentless about seeking feedback. So I am absolutely relentless. I'm a feedback hound, and candor is definitely a form of respect for me.
Okay. Could you share with our listeners an internet resource that you use when you write?
A internet resource, probably Wikipedia is actually one where, just to help me get some quick research done, to remind, sometimes I'm just, what does that definition mean, or what am I really trying to say? And so I use Wikipedia a lot.
Oh, okay. I hadn't heard Wikipedia too much. Usually it's like thesaurus. Some people just do Google searches. Some people use ChatGPT just to get a certain idea or to rephrase, something. But Wikipedia is not a bad way to go either.
Mm-hmm.
So, Dr. Pham, we're now going to enter into the grand finale. So what I'd like you to do is take your time and tell our listeners all about your book.
Yes. So 7 Forms of Respect, a guide to transforming your communication and relationships at work. This is this is how explaining how respect is dynamic, it's relative, it's subjective, and it's contradictory. And yet the way we talk about it is we talk about it as if it's fixed and universal. And I'm just going to share one story here about when I was doing this research, because this is based on my original research. I would ask people what respect means, and they would talk about the golden rule: treat people the way you would like to be treated. And so in my book, I actually talk about the rubber band rule, which is, it shows that we actually are flexible as humans. We can flex. So Michael, I may know that you like to be respected in a certain way. And even if I'm ambivalent about it, I'll do it because I want to stretch for you. And yet what can happen over time is if we find ourselves stretching too much, we can actually snap and break. And so the book is also about self-respect too, that we actually have to be able to identify the forms of respect that matter to us so that we can communicate that with other people. So you can go to formsofrespect.com if you want to find out more about the framework and about the book. I also list on that website, there's formsofrespect.com/book, and it has all the people who also contributed to the campaign and some videos around that. In case people are getting ideas about doing an Indiegogo campaign, you can actually go to that page as well. You can also get the book on Amazon and at any independent bookstore and at Barnes & Noble, because I also published it through Ingram Spark. I am most active on LinkedIn on social media. So you can just find me at LinkedIn, Julie Pham 2. And I'm also active on Instagram. You can also go to my website, curiositybased.com. And I have lots and lots and lots of free content on my YouTube channel. So I mentioned before that I read a lot of scenarios from my YouTube channel, and there's also even a short 2-minute video of me of acting out the different forms of respect. And also 2 other free resources. If you go to formsofrespect.com, there's a free mini book and there's a free quiz.
So my question is, it's 7 forms of respect and it talks about the workplace, but these 7 forms of respect can work in real life too. Is that correct?
Yes, and that's what I'm excited about for next, to do the research for respect in our personal lives.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because there's, respect in our personal life is really important to do. So, Dr. Pham, we thank you so much for being here with us today, opening up to us, and I'm sure our listeners appreciate this too. Dr. Pham's book, 7 Forms of Respect, is available on Amazon. Again, this is Michael T. To all our listeners, I would invite you to go to bookpartypodcast.com and hit that subscribe tab on top. Scroll down to the icon of your choice where you can find us on one of your favorite platforms, such as Apple Podcast, Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, or Odyssey, where you can download and follow us there. Please leave a review. Don't forget to sign up for our weekly video newsletter to get the latest information on our upcoming shows. Until next time, keep reading, learning, and discovering the world through the pages of a good book. Book Party Podcast is owned and powered by MTM Legacy Publishing, LLC. This is Michael T. signing off.
You must not miss our next episode as we delve into a world of inspiration, entertainment, and thought-provoking insights. Join Michael T. on the next Book Party podcast and experience a new adventure, a new story, and a complete immersion into the world of Pages Unveiled, Chronicles of the Writing Journey.